Break it down now.
This gentleman and I have done this sort of series, if you will, for about a decade and a half now. It's the quarterly derivatives MLB betting podcast that we normally do, but we decided we'd do it on a numbers game, and we'll repurpose it for a podcast this time around. It's Mark Borchard, everybody, Basewinner, at Basewinner on Twitter, basewinner.com, and of course, host of, not the host, but one of the hosts of the BetUS baseball betting show as well, which they do weekdays. He joins us now courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Gill. I'm amazed at what's going on this year in baseball. It's really, I'm having not a great year, like from a betting standpoint, but it's interesting to see, and we'll get into as we go over this, kind of what's going on in baseball. At least for the first quarter of the season, Gill.
Yes, for the first quarter of the season. Again, what we try to do here, we do it at the roughly the 40-game mark, the 80-game mark, and the 120-game mark, is we go over some broad betting stats that are widely available. Best money line teams thus far for the better, best run line teams for the better, best umpires in terms of over, under. Mark has historical numbers on the umpires, so we'll see if those check out. We'll talk about the starters that if you back blindly have given you the most money. But then we get a little more proprietary with first 5 inning stats and first inning stats for pitchers as well. Before we get into any of that, Mark, real quick, because Kelly and I were just going over most regular season wins. Dodgers were the short shot. Yankees were right behind them. And I sort of off the cuff said I thought the Yankees were the best value. You actually ran numbers on this. What do you have?
Yeah, I've got, it's real top heavy. I got the Dodgers at 38% to have. This is best record, 38%. And then the Yankees, 34%. So however that translates into whatever market you're betting, what is that? 38 plus 34, Gil, 72% of the time it's going to either be the Dodgers or the Yankees. So, and which would make sense with where they're sitting right now and all their component ratings.
Yeah, we're showing Dodgers plus 115 for most regular season wins. By the way, most regular season wins, best record, really ultimately the same thing. Yankees plus 255. So I think I stand by what my instinct was. Yankees probably the best value based on your numbers.
Well, Gil, you're based on the Basewinner numbers. Your analysis is spot on. In fact,
what do I win?
You're getting plus 250, and I think it should be plus 194. So you're right on fire.
I'm gonna give you a bonus. I'm gonna guess the Yankees lost yesterday. They did. They are out to plus 310.
Even
in this market
better
right now.
Even better. Yeah. The only point, again, we'll just say this before we launch into this. The only point is, do you really want to have this bet for 4.5 months? That's really the only calculus you need to make. Is it worth it to you? Maybe it is. Maybe it is worth it to you to have that. All right, Mark, let's do this. A tradition unlike any other. This extends even further back in time than the Megapod. This is the only thing that is earlier than guessing lines in the Megapod are these quarterly baseball things, which you did on the Beating the Book podcast and, of course, Betting Dork before that. Most profitable teams in baseball thus far this year. And again, the point of this exercise is, what is just narrative of what's happened? What is perhaps predictive moving forward? So thus far this year, I always throw it to you what your numbers say, because I'm curious if they differ with the ones that we're citing. If you bet this team blindly, this is this bizarro exercise. If you bet this team blindly as a favorite or dog every single game this year, what would be your net result? And your number one team in baseball this year thus far is?
The Rays.
The Tampa Bay Rays, as we have it. We'll throw up the graphic. This is courtesy of Covers.com. These are based on $100 bets. The Rays, who are 24-12, would have netted you just over 10 units. So again, blind, bizarro exercise. You bet the Rays every single game. Doesn't matter what their price is, dog or favorite. Because they've been a dog so many times or been low favorites, they are your biggest net winner, closely followed by the St. Louis Cardinals. That checks out for you, Mark?
Let's see what I got, Gil. Sorry. Cardinals are 3.
Cardinals are 3. Who's your 2?
2 are the Braves.
2 are the Braves. Okay, Covers has Braves listed 4. Again, these are going to change because these are going to be different because some people are going to bet the favorite to win 100, and some people's stats are betting the favorite 100 to win less than that if they're the favorite. So they're going to differ a little, but you get the idea. Rays and Cardinals.
Yeah, Gil, I just want to take this opportunity because I use Killer Sports, Carl Sack over there, NBA guru. I love this guy. Whatever he's doing over there, keep doing it.
You know what he does? He runs an NBA Killer Sports contest in the playoffs. It's fantastic, Carl Sack. Rays Cardinals. The question:
there are some good people in the industry, Gil. There really are.
Carl. By the way, Carl, salt of the earth, one of the best people in the industry. The Dr. Bob coaching tree, if you will. Rays Cardinals, sustainable or not?
I don't think so. I mean, this is what I wanted to get to. So you have the top 5 payroll teams, 2 of the top 5 payroll teams we'll talk about in the worst teams, but these are the bottom 5 payroll teams: Rays, Cardinals, Nationals, White Sox. I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but my point is 2 of the bottom 5 payroll teams are the top in ROI. I don't think that's going to continue. There's some correlation numbers that I ran this year, and it's like there's no correlation between payroll and wins. As a matter of fact, I just wanted to say this because I thought it was super interesting when I did it. If you look at the top 5 payroll teams this season, their average wins are 18.8 and 19.4. The top 5 average wins are 18.8. The bottom 5 payroll teams average wins 19.4. So that's what I thought was really interesting. If you look at last year, full season, top 5 payroll teams won an average of 96.8 games, bottom 5, 78.2. So it's been a weird season where these bottom teams, at least from a payroll standpoint, are overperforming, and the top payroll teams are underperforming, Gil.
Yeah. And again, that's why we do it at the 40 game mark, roughly, right? I'm going to be off next week, so that's why we're doing it a little early this year. You're going to see some more anomalies than you would, say, at the 80 game mark or the 120 game mark. By the way, the worst ROI teams thus far this year, again, bizarro exercise, you bet them every single game, dog, favorite, whatever. The New York Metropolitans, percovers.com, they would have hemorrhaged you the most money at this point, over 11.5 units to the negative. Is that what you have as well?
Yeah, we're at 14. Like, if you bet against them, you'd be ahead 14 units if you just blanket bet against the Mets. And then the next team that I have is the Blue Jays, which I mean, those are 2 top 5 payroll teams, right?
Well, and this also makes sense, right? Because the Mets, Phillies, and Blue Jays, which we have listed 1, 2, and 3 here as the worst in terms of money hemorrhaging, they were all expected to be really good baseball teams, and they have all had rough starts to the season, although the Mets and Phillies certainly started to turn it around in May. Let's just do the run lines as well. Do we have the run line graphics as well, guys, or do we have those for that? Run line, which is... I just did money line. Okay, I'll do the run line here. I'll just off the cuff, which is sort of the de facto power rankings, if you will. If you're a favorite by 1.5 runs. If you are a dog, you are a dog of a half run here. And the Orioles. Oh, we're showing that's a different thing. That's a different graphic. Let me just go to the run line itself. If we did it on the run line, what do you have as the most profitable run line teams thus far this year, Mark?
I got the Braves, Gil.
Yes, it is the Atlanta Braves by far, over 16.5 units to the positive on the run line. So when they're beating you big. When they're losing, sometimes they're losing tight ones. I have them following the Braves. It's the Yankees for me, and then the Rays.
It's Yankees, Rays for me, too.
Yeah. And again, Yankees, same thing. Rays, well, even on the run line, doing really well. Worst run line teams in all of baseball. None of this will surprise. The Mets, the Giants. Oh, no, pardon me. It's the Phillies by far.
Wow.
Phillies by far, pardon me. Over 18 units down on the run line. But then it is the Mets, the Giants, the Mariners, somewhere in that group of teams on the run line. Anything there surprise you? I guess just the Mets and Phillies.
Yeah, the Mets are a big surprise. Like, they've got one of the highest payrolls in baseball, and they've been, and of course Soto was hurt, so he's the best hitter in baseball by my rating. So he's hurt for 3 weeks or something like that. But even so, they're significant underperformers. I think that's going to regress. I think that the talent there is going to show itself. Okay,
real quick, just in terms of. These are, if you just blindly bet pitchers, we just sort of say this to ourselves just because it amuses us. But if you blindly bet Davis Martin of the White Sox this year or Martinez of the Rays, those are the most profitable starting pitchers. Just randomly, if you had bet them when they were on the hill to start games for the White Sox and Rays this year, they are your biggest gainers. I don't think there's anything to that. I think you would probably agree with me that it's just sort of how that's worked out for those two pitchers, would you say? Or do you think there is something to that for those two?
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, Davis Martin a little bit better. He used to be so bad. All you could really do with this is just go Rat Pack jokes with him. Sammy Davis, Dean Martin, and that's about all you could do with a guy. But now he's showing a little bit of like utility, maybe a league average pitcher, right?
Tanner Bybee, the worst, backing him blindly for the Guardians. We'll come back. We'll drill down more next. Back on a numbers game. Gill Alexander, Kelly Bidlin, live from Circle Resort Casino, downtown Las Vegas, doing our Q1 Derivatives MLB betting segments here with Mark Borchard, Basewinner, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Mark, just we'll pick up where we left off here real quick with starting pitchers, top ROI starting pitchers. We have a graphic for it. There it is. Again, if you just bet these starters blindly thus far this year, Davis Martin would have netted you over 6.5 units, courtesy of Covers.com. Nick Martinez, blindly betting him on $100 bets would have netted you over 5 units because their respective teams happened to go 6-1 in their 2 respective starts. By the way, the worst, you see Jose Soriano, also 6 out of the 8 times he's been on the hill, the Angels have won, so you'd have had 4.5 units on him as well. The worst of the ROI pitchers, the ones that have caused you to hemorrhage the most money, I mentioned Tanner Bybee of the Guardians was the worst of the bunch, but he is not without company of his own down there at the bottom of that list, including this Tanner Bybee and then McLean from the Mets. He's down there as well. So Hauser for the Giants. Guardians 1-7 on Bybee starts. Mets and Giants 1-6, and McLean and Hauser starts. By the way, Ciccione for the Guardians also. The Guardians 1-6 in his start. So the Guardians' losses have really been top heavy to those 2 guys. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
This is what's interesting to me, Gil. I know you're going to ask me this. What's interesting to me is Peralta and McLean up there. I mean, these guys, and their numbers aren't horrible, too. You think, well, maybe they just dropped off a ledge, and they haven't. I mean, the numbers are decent. So I think that'll probably regress to the good. I think if you're a Mets fan, don't stress out too much. I think they're gonna turn it around here, Gil.
All right, umpires, and this is great because I'll give you the 2026 numbers on these umps, just in terms of over/under umps. And you have historical numbers, so I'm curious, as always, if these corroborate with greater than 1 year stats, or greater than 6 week stats in this case. These are, again, home plate umpires who happen to, on the nights that they call balls and strikes, because obviously there's rotational umpires, but on the nights that they call balls and strikes, what has been the record of games going over or under? Now, is this based on a thimble-like strike zone? Or a very wide strike zone? We don't know. I don't know the ballpark specifically on all these, so it's a little bit a non-thorough, if you will. But right now, to this point this year, Andy Fletcher behind home plate, all 5 of his 5 games calling balls and strikes have gone over. Mark Wegner, same thing. All 5 of the games that he's called balls and strikes on have gone over. Brian O'Nora, 4 out of 4 over. Rob Drake, 4 out of 4 over. Eric Backus, 4 out of 4 over, and James Jean, 4 out of 4 over. I'll add David Rackley, 5 out of 6 have gone to the over, and Lance Barksdale, 5 out of 6 games that he's called balls and strikes have gone to the over. Doug Eddings, Bill Miller, Carlos Torres, Shane Livensparger, 4 out of 5 to the over. Any of those guys historically over umps?
Are you talking? Is Bill Miller to the over? Is that what you're saying?
In the short term?
Well, Yeah, that's super special. So first of all, the guy who long-term brings out to me is Barksdale, but I wanted to talk about Miller because I think it brings out something like, what do you do with these umpires this year? Because my thought was like, I'm really going to discount the umpires because of the ABS. Well, maybe they'll regress to the mean. And in Bill Miller's case, it's not true. You look at him and he's like my second heaviest under metric umpire over the last, I don't know, however long I'm doing it, 4 years. But I think more importantly, where he's at right now from a strikeout percentage, Gil, is his strikeout percentage is 26.5 this year. Well, that's why I was so very surprised to see him in the over, because even with I guess a governor for these umpires, even with the ABS governor, this guy's still the metrics at least are still way under. And then I think you'll like this because we got to go pop on this. The best guy with the highest strikeout percentage, Ryan Edition, brings to mind New Edition, right? Or you could actually go with a Weekend song there. Either way.
Yes, you could go either way. We want to get to the first 5 and the first inning stuff because that's obviously front of mind for bettors as well. The reason we go through the umpires, again, if you are thinking about betting an over or betting an under, and one of these umpires kinds to go the other way, maybe it'll take you off a bet. And again, umpire assignments, where do you go for those, Mark, most cleanly?
Well, if you do it yourself, you could just go to the previous day's umpires, and the first base umpire goes to home runs. The guy, my source dried up. It used to be home plate umpire and sometimes they dry, but it's really easy to do. You just go to the box score, and whoever did first base the night before is going to do home plate this day.
That's how you do it. That's the best way to do it. It's so funny with these baseball stats, how you said dry up. It's so true. StatFox used to list these, right? StatFox, a thing of the past with this. First fives. Let's get the most reliable under-umps before we get to first five. Speaking of something that is a moving target in terms of who keeps track of them. But in terms of the most reliable under-umps thus far, real quick, John Libka, 5 out of 5 to the under thus far this year when he calls balls and strikes. Marvin Hudson, 6 out of 6 to the under. He's the big one thus far when he is behind home plate. Junior Valentine, Chris Conroy, John Tumpane, 4 out of 5 to the under thus far. And one more, Charlie Ramos, 5 out of 7 to the under thus far this year when he's calling balls and strikes. Anything corroborate with historical numbers?
Did you mention Conroy? I think I heard Conroy. That guy's long term.
Yes, so. Chris Conroy, 4 out of 5. So there's a name for you. If Chris Conroy is behind home plate and you are thinking of betting the over in that baseball game, maybe give it a little pause. Because historically, and more into this year as well, he is a under kind of umpire. And again, what does that have to do with? Does that have to do with the fact that his strike zone is the size of a thimble? I don't know. But that's just how the cookie crumbles with him. To the more proprietary stuff. First 5 records. Now, again, you can bet full games, as most people do. It's becoming harder and harder at legalized sports books with dime lines sort of being extinct more and more. Prediction markets doing much better things with full game money lines. And obviously, you can bet first 5s. Same sort of things apply here. The most profitable first 5 teams. So again, this is if you bet this team blindly, every first 5 thus far this year, $100 bets. The Athletics to the day, right? This was different yesterday, but to the day, to this moment, as we do this the morning of May 7th, the Athletics would have netted you over $7. They are just a little more profitable than the Twins have been, followed by the Angels, Cardinals, and Nationals. Bet you wouldn't have those 5 teams predicted, would you?
Absolutely not. It's really wild. It shows you that money's not buying wins here, and the Cardinals and Nationals, lower payrolls right there, first 5. And then, the bottom 5, the top guys. I'm just amazed by that. I think that you have all these top guys, not just money, but top analytical minds in the world working for these top ranked Major League Baseball teams, and they're not winning games. So interesting. You
said it best. It really is through the prism of payroll at this point where you're looking at this is just on its head, right? Because the worst first 5 teams, again, you're talking about starting pitchers here primarily as the culprits. Good Lord. Jays, O's, Phillies, Giants, Astros, all big payroll teams. So yeah, the Blue Jays first 5 is the biggest hemorrhager along with the O's and the Phils. But man, Giants and Astros.
Yeah, and at the Cardinals, and Kelly's a pretty good example because he's kind of a hardcore basketball guy. He's kind of a casual baseball fan. I don't know, Kelly, can you name a Cardinals starting pitcher?
No. Is Adam Wainwright still there?
Bob Gibson, he says.
Bob Gibson.
That, by the way, courtesy of OddsShark. Thank you to OddsShark for keeping track of those numbers because in past year, I used to do them manually back in the day before anybody did, and OddsShark did. And then I think OddsShark went away for it maybe for a season or 2. And then we went to this other place and now back at OddsShark. So thank you to them for keeping track of those. Lastly, first inning, because some people like to bet Yerfies and Nerfies, right? Yes runs, no runs. This is, I don't know what your numbers are saying, Mark, because I did a minimum of 25 plate appearances against in the database right now. But in terms of opponents on base percentage, the worst first inning pitchers thus far this year: Taijuan Walker, no longer with the team, 567. Luis Severino of the A's and Tyler Mahle of the Giants, On-base percentage of opponents in the first inning is a sweet 500. And by sweet, I mean terrible. And then there's Lance McCullers of the Astros and Cole Reagans of the Royals. And Cole Reagans now has arm trouble, which is not good for the Royals. But those 5 guys have been the worst in the first inning. Those are somewhat surprising in a couple cases, right? Or at least in Reagan's case.
Oh, I think with Reagan's, but that makes sense that they're hurt. Sometimes the numbers go before the injuries diagnosed, which really brings to mind, with all the biometric data available, how much do we have? Probably none of it. So, but you can see it through the numbers, and so Reagan's was an interesting one, Gil.
Yeah, and then we say best here on the screen, but it's really best from the pitcher's standpoint. It's really the worst OBP against. Reed Detmers is the best pitcher. 154 against first inning. Reed Detmers of the Angels. Edward Cabrera of the Cubbies. Mackenzie Gore of the Rangers. Parker Messick of the Guardians. Cam Schlittler of the Yankees. And Kevin Gausman. Schlittler something, huh?
Oh, he's been amazing. And like the numbers, like they define him too, not just the standard, but the advanced ones.
I was making that point yesterday. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure, Gil. Have a great show.